In a quiet suburban neighborhood, the sun was setting, casting a warm orange glow over the streets. The peaceful silence was broken only by the rhythmic sound of a basketball bouncing on the pavement. A young boy, no older than 9 or 10, stood in his driveway, completely lost in his game. His carefree laughter echoed through the neighborhood as he dribbled and practiced his shots. But what he didn't notice was the shadow creeping up behind him. Just across the street, a man named Jake watched from the shadows. He looked rough, late 20s, disheveled, wearing a worn-out hoodie with his backpack slung over one shoulder. His eyes darted nervously as he scanned the street. Jake wasn't a hardened criminal, but life had been hard on him. Desperation drove people to make poor choices, and Jake was about to make one of the worst decisions of his life. He waited until the boy bent down to tie his shoelace, leaving his basketball and backpack unattended for a few seconds. That was all the time Jake needed. In one swift motion, he snatched the boy's basketball, but as he turned to run, something shiny caught his eye, a handheld gaming console sticking out of the backpack. Jake's heart raced. This was worth much more than a basketball. Without thinking, he grabbed the console and took off down the street. Jake thought he had pulled off the perfect theft, but he hadn't counted on one crucial detail. Someone else had been watching him: Max, the Parker family's golden retriever. Max had been lounging lazily on the porch when he saw the entire scene unfold. The moment Jake bolted with the boy's belongings, Max's ears perked up. His instincts kicked in. This wasn't just a playful chase. Max sensed something was wrong, and he wasn't going to let it slide. Without hesitation, Max sprang into action, leaping off the porch and taking off after Jake. His paws pounded against the pavement, his tail stiff with determination. Jake ran as fast as he could, zigzagging through streets and alleyways, but Max was relentless. The dog weaved through traffic, dodged obstacles, and stayed hot on Jake's trail. Panic set in as Jake realized he couldn't shake the dog. He stumbled into a dark alley, panting heavily, clutching the stolen gaming console. He leaned against a dumpster, trying to catch his breath, thinking he was finally safe. But Max was smarter than he looked. Moments later, Jake heard a low, menacing growl echo through the alleyway. He looked up and saw Max standing at the entrance, teeth bared, his growl growing louder with each passing second. Jake's eyes widened in fear. This wasn't just any family pet, this dog was delivering justice. Before Jake could react, Max barked ferociously, loud enough to catch the attention of a nearby shopkeeper who had stepped outside to lock up for the night. The shopkeeper spotted Jake, disheveled and holding a kid's gaming console, and immediately put two and two together. Realizing he was caught, Jake panicked. He tossed the console aside and took off running once more, disappearing into the night. Max, satisfied that the thief was gone, calmly picked up the console in his mouth and trotted back home. Meanwhile, back at the Parker house, the young boy sat on the porch, his face etched with sadness. His basketball was gone, and so was his gaming console, both gifts from his late grandfather. He felt a lump in his throat as he thought about how hard his parents had worked to buy him those things. Just as he was about to give up hope, he heard familiar footsteps. Max appeared, tail wagging, his mouth gently holding the gaming console. The boy's face lit up with a mix of shock and joy. "Max! You found it!" he exclaimed, dropping to his knees to hug the dog tightly. Max licked the boy's face, wagging his tail even harder, as if to say, "It's all taken care of." But the story didn't end there. Just as the family was celebrating Max's heroic return, there was a knock at the front door. The boy's mother opened it to find the shopkeeper standing there, holding Jake firmly by the arm. "This man dropped his ID in the alley," the shopkeeper explained, handing it over. The mother's eyes widened as she recognized the name. Jake had been part of a local outreach program aimed at helping struggling community members get back on their feet. She had seen him at food drives and volunteer events but never imagined he would resort to theft. Instead of calling the police, she made a surprising decision. "Come inside," she said softly. Jake hesitated, his face filled with shame and confusion. "Are you serious?" he asked. "You're not going to call the cops?" The mother shook her head. No. You look like you need a meal more than anything else. Jake, hungry and tired, reluctantly accepted the offer. Over dinner, he listened to the family talk about kindness and second chances. He noticed how the little boy never let go of Max, who sat proudly by his side. By the end of the meal, Jake's hardened demeanor softened. He realized that while he had made a terrible mistake, this family wasn't treating him like a criminal. They were treating him like someone who needed help. The next morning, Jake returned to the Parker house not to steal, but to make things right. He brought back the basketball he had taken and apologized sincerely to the boy. The boy, still holding Max's paw, smiled and said, "Wanna play a game?" And just like that, the tension melted away. They spent the morning shooting hoops, with Max happily chasing after the ball. Laughter filled the once quiet street, turning it into a scene of joy and redemption. As the story wrapped up, Jake stood on the porch, looking out at the neighborhood he once saw as just another place to survive. Now, it felt like a community. He glanced down at Max and gave the dog a respectful nod. "Thanks, buddy. You're a real hero." Max wagged his tail proudly. The boy's mother watched from the doorway, a gentle smile on her face. She had taken a chance on kindness, and it had made all the difference. As the sun began to set again, painting the sky in soft hues of orange and pink, the Parker family sat together on the porch, joined by their unexpected new friend. The words "Justice Delivered" appeared on the screen as the final shot lingered on Max, lying contentedly at his family's feet. The voiceover concluded softly, "Sometimes, justice comes in unexpected ways. And sometimes, the heroes we need have 4 legs and wagging tails." If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And remember, kindness and second chances can change lives. The screen faded to black, leaving viewers with a heartwarming reminder that in a world often filled with darkness, there are still stories of redemption, compassion, and, of course, a little bit of instant karma.